Hello, students, and welcome to Color Theory. This is part one of color mixing. So the idea is you're going to go through and try to mix colors on a painted swatch. You have my palette on the left, and you have the painted swatches and the original swatch on the right. So here is my card, and the idea is I'm going to try to match those colors. So first thing I want to say to myself is, what is the hue, the color family? And it's yellow for sure. Now, the color that I start off with when I start mixing yellow is way brighter and a lot darker than where I'm kind of starting off. So the colors that I've got here, I've got cadmium red, cadmium orange, cadmium red, or cadmium yellow. Then I have a magenta and a purple. The purple is to try and go through, and here I'm going to just test out my color on top of that swatch, just over to the side, not over the whole thing. I'm going to cut out a piece of this swatch later so that I can put them next to each other. So I'm testing it out again. This one looks like a better match. And I've got purple on here because purple and yellow are complementary, opposite colors. And if I want to take some of the power of the yellow away, I can add some of the purple to it, and it's going to mute it down. So I'm painting I would say roughly this is a 2x2 square. I've got a 1-inch brush, and I'm pulling it across the paper. I'm not scrubbing it back and forth too crazy. I might do that to kind of mix it up on my palette. But when I go to paint it, I'm pulling the paint across, trying to get a nice kind of smooth look to it. Probably could use a little bit of water on there. But I liked the first one. I didn't think it was light enough, so I added some white to make it a little bit lighter. There's a touch of water. I think what I'm going to try to do now is go for the second color on this swatch. So usually when I go through and try to make some matches, I try to do a card, all three of those different colors together. So I'm using mostly yellow, but a little bit of white, a little bit of purple. And then every time I think I'm getting close, I'll touch it. So that was very cool. It was not the right tone, probably still a little pale. So then I'm using a little yellow to warm it up. So every time I test it on my page, I'm going to try to see how close is it. One thing to really consider as you go through and try to paint these swatches is the idea that when acrylic paint dries, it is a little bit darker than when it was wet. So if you match it perfect and then you paint it down and then it changes, what you need to think about is you need to have it just a little bit lighter. And the aspects, if you look at your handout for this project, are: did you match the hue, the color family? Did you match the value, the light and darkness? Did you match the temperature, the warmness and coolness? And did you match the intensity? These colors, there's some intensity, but I would say it's definitely more middle intensity. And that's why when you use the straight yellow out of the tube, these are not nearly as bright as that. You need to warm this up, so I'm adding some yellow to it, a little bit of white to kind of temper that out. And I keep trying it out. Looks like it's not warm enough still, so a little more yellow. And that's what you kind of do, is you kind of start off with a good guess, get close, and then you start making adjustments to try and get it right. And every time you go through and do something like this, you're gonna be guessing every time. You're never gonna get it exactly right on the first try. But here we go. Those are the little swatches on the side that I tested. I'm leaving the majority of the paint alone so that I don't end up, I can cut a shape out of that. I can cut a square out of that. I don't want you to put two together that have paint dabs all over it. The paint dabs are for you to go through and try and test out your color and see how close it is. So I'll always keep those to the side. So I'm going through and trying out different colors. What I think I end up doing here is I end up went from the lightest to the darkest, and then I'm kind of like working my way back again from the dark to the light. And a lot of times it takes 10, 11 tries to maybe get it right. Anytime you paint any of these, you don't want to throw them away. They can be useful. We're going to talk about other ways to adjust colors. If it's really close, then you might want to adjust it slightly. So we can talk about that after this first part. But the idea is we're trying out a color. We're trying to match it as perfect as we can. You know, maybe we get the value right. Maybe we get the temperature right. Maybe we get the chroma right, and we can't quite get the intensity. So we'll see you in the next part, and happy mixing.